So let's proceed and look at the various markers. So the markers are, or the markups are within the tools menu. We have the markups. Now, we said that the markups are very important probably when you want to revise a PDF drawing. And even if you are an estimator, sometimes you'd need to use the markups, because the markups, what you do is to indicate something, and then you can okay, you can capture that point. Probably there is a problem with the drawing, you can create a markup and then indicate where the problem is, and finally you create what we call a summary, and then that summary you can export it in PDF, indicating where the problem is, whether it is a problem, whether it is inconsistency. You just need to indicate that. So sometimes markups could be important, as we are going to see, and it is important that we first of all take some time to learn about the markups, and then we are going to get to the business of this course, which of course is takeoff. Now, to start with, I'll proceed to the tools menu. We have the markups, all of them are there, and here I also have some quick access within the toolbar. I'm just going to proceed with the tools here. Now, we have the text box and others, and you note that each of those have a shortcut key, which of course is one letter. For example, text box is T. So probably for faster placement, you can use these particular letters. So let's start with the text box. I'm going to click on text box. Once you click on that, you note that your pointer on the screen, on the drawing space, is going to show a cross, meaning that Bluebeam is ready to receive the tool that you have chosen. Now, once you click on or you activate a particular tool, you note that we are going to get the options bar here, and also we are going to have the properties tool here, or the properties panel is going to be activated. So this is where you can modify, or you can do some settings to the tool that you have selected. Now here, I'm just going to proceed and add some text to this particular PDF. So I'm just going to click, and for this one, you need to draw a text box. So you just need to click and draw the text box. And once you draw the text box, the next thing you need to do is to add the text. So we can just add any text like that. So, and then once you are done, you can just press escape. So there we have the toolbox. Remember, it is there. And then we have the text. Now, this particular toolbox, or this particular tool, creates a boundary, and also you can add some text. Now, this text is controlled by the settings that we have. For example, you can note that although we have the boundary there, it is not shown unless you click at this particular region. So that's when it is going to be activated. Now, you note something that when I hover the cursor over a tool that have been added, or over an object that have been added using the various tools, my cursor turns into that particular symbol. It means that you are in selection mode. When right now I'm at that point, I'm in panning mode or in zooming mode. You can see that my cursor, okay, my pointer is shown as a hand symbol, meaning that is pan, and also a search icon there, or a search symbol there, or an eye lens, or a lens, which means that you can zoom. So those are the two modes that we can have when you are working on a PDF. So you can be in a zoom mode. Currently, as you can see, that is the zoom or pan mode. So once I click on the button, if I click and hold the button of my mouse, you can pan this particular drawing, and you can scroll the wheel of your mouse to zoom in and out. And once I hover the cursor over this particular region, you can see that the select mode is activated, and once I click, that particular object created by any of these tools, whether measurement tool or markup tool, is going to be selected. So that is it. So for example, let's do some changes. You can do the changes before even you place a particular tool or a particular object from the tools. For example, there is the line here. You can change the line color probably to black or dark, you can see that now the boundary has the color. I select it. If we have red, again that is red. If you don't want the color to be shown, probably you could have left it the way it were there before, or else if we can just have white, which of course is the color of the background. So again, we have the line opacity. So remember, we have this particular line, which is the boundary line. You can change its opacity. This is something that we are going to find most of the times we are working with Bluebeam, where you can change the opacity. For example, now you can see the opacity of everything have changed, including the text. If you want to have it at 100%, you can as well do so. And once I click to deselect, you can note that the changes are going to take effect. And then you can change the boundary. Currently it's a solid line. We can change it probably to dashed. You can see that we have the dashed boundary. And then you can change the line weight. So currently we have 1. Probably if you have 3 and I click, you're going to see that the line weight changes. So those are some of the settings that you are expected to do when you are working with the Bluebeam. And then if you want to have a fill, this is the background fill, you can as well do so. We can click the fill color. Probably we can use this color, and we have the fill there. And then you can change the opacity of this particular fill. We've said that opacity is something that you're going to find most of the time. So probably you could have an opacity of 20. Once I click, you can note that the opacity is now quite reduced. I'll click once again to select. Again, you can change the shape of this particular boundary that we added. So you've got the option to have that kind of a shape, or else any other shape that you want. So then you can change the auto resize. You can change the boundary like that automatically. Okay, this auto resize is going to fit the boundary to the text that you have added, so that's why we have the auto resize. However, if you want to change the size, you can use these particular controls within the boundary. For example, if I click and hold this particular control, I can change the size of this particular boundary. Remember, it does not affect the size of this particular text that we have here. Again, we have a control to rotate. If you need to rotate it, you can as well do so, and the angle of rotation is shown at this particular point. So that is the rotation. If you want to undo a particular operation, you just press Ctrl plus Z to undo, or else proceed to edit and you can undo. So let's have a auto size text box like that. And then you can choose the size of the text, or the type, not the size. You can choose the type of the text. So we have the various font types. You can change the size of the text. So you can see, you can scroll and have probably 3. You can see that the text size have reduced. You can as well proceed and have like 10, and then click on this auto resize, and probably here I can just have something like that. And then once I have the text fit correctly, I can click on auto resize. And then you have, you can auto resize text to the boundary. In this case, once it is active, once it is active, you can resize the size, you can resize the text with the control. So that is it. With the boundary, you can use the boundary to change the size of the text. So there are those settings that we usually do, and in this case we have this particular text box. You can change the color of the font. So probably want the color to be green, that is the case. And then you can change some of the styles. Probably if you want the alignment to be, probably if you added a paragraph, you choose the alignment. You choose whether to have the font style. You can choose whether to have it bold, whether to have it italicized, and others. Strike through. So we have those options. And then we have the margin, the line space. So we have the option to add or to change the styles. Again, if you want to add something to this particular text, you just need to click to select this particular text box and then double click inside. And once you click once again, you can proceed and add something. So So that is it. And then the settings that we have in the options bar at this particular point, you can as well find some of them in the settings panel. For example, the appearance, you can change the color. This is the color of the line, the boundary line, like that. You can change the fill color. We came across the fill color there. You can change the opacity. So you change the opacity. This first opacity is this one for the line, and the second opacity is the fill opacity. So you can as well change from this point, and you can see that this one is 20 and this one is 20 as well. If you change the opacity of the line, it is going to be updated from this particular panel. And others, the styles, the shape, the end, and the font size, so they are there, the line spacing. So we've come across all of this when we are dealing with the options bar at the top. So then you can decide to set as default. We are going to look at set as default, and as well as adding to the tool chest. So this mostly we are going to look at when we are dealing with the measurement tools, but what we are going to learn can also be applied to these particular markups. And then we have the author, the subject. So this information that you see here under the general is actually can be populated in the markup list. And for example, the subject here can be populated, see, and then there is the author. It is as well populated. You can decide to change. So some of this information that you add here, and also the label. So the label is going to be populated as well. We are going to see that. So that is the text box. We have the typewriter. If I click on the typewriter there, or typewriter, or else just press W on your keyboard, you can proceed and add some text. And this is okay, very similar to the first one. So let's just try to do something. I'm going to click, and once you click, remember here we don't add the text box first. Here we just need to proceed and add the text once you click. So we can call it like that. So that is the text, and once you are done, you can just press escape. And once I hover the cursor over this particular object created by the tool, you can see that we have this particular object there. And of course there will be a text box that is going to be populated once you place this particular text. Now if you want the boundary to be shown, like we said, you can proceed at this particular line and now change the color. The boundary is going to be populated. Let me press Ctrl+Z. But note that initially there was no boundary that was populated, and that is where we were. So you can decide to have the boundary for the text or not. Now again, if you have the boundary, for example, currently we don't have, although there is the color here that we see. So once you place it at the first instance, we are not going to have any color within the boundary, although we are going to have the color shown there. So if you want it, you can just proceed and probably click or choose another color. For example, currently is white. White, of course, is not going to be visible because the background is as well white. So you can just proceed and decide to have that particular boundary, the box, or else you can decide to not have it. Now the others, we have come across them: the fill, the shape, the font, and others, the style. So that is very similar to what we had with the tool, the first tool, the text box tool. And then you can add some notes. So let me click on the note. Now let's probably use this particular drawing and say we want to add some notes here. So probably we want to add some note concerning this particular this particular part of the drawing. So I can click there. Then once you click, you're going to get a retro note box here, and you can add some information. So let's probably say that okay, we can say refer to the crabbing drawings. So this is just a note. So you've got this to the architectural drawing, but you want to add some note there. You can just proceed and say for these particular designs that you have within the architectural plan, just refer to the crabbing drawing. So that will be the text. And then the text, you can decide to have the text shown. So currently, if I am in this particular mode, I have added this particular text. You can decide to have it shown, or else you can just proceed and click on this particular close. You can close it, and there it is. If you want to, okay, once you close, you can note that the icon is still going to remain. And if you want to see the information, you can just double click to have the notes shown. You just need to double click on this particular icon. Now you can add more notes as much as you wish. Anything that you note, you can add. So probably if you're working with a fellow estimator, you can just proceed and add this particular note. And then once you create or you export, the person who is going to get this particular drawing, or else the person who is going to see the summary that you have created from the markups is going to see that there is a note there. So that is it. And then let's proceed and add another markup. You can add a call out. So let me click on the call out. So probably we can add a call out here. Remember, we have a column, so probably we can add a call out. And in this case, I just need to click, and for the call out, you can see that we are going to have a leader. So in this case, we need to make sure that we are clicking inside the element or where we want to point. So let me just press escape and then proceed back, markup, call out. The shortcut is Q, and then I'm going to click inside this particular point, and this is just for illustration. And I'll click at that point, and then once you click or you do the second click, you will get an option to add some information. So probably here we can say refer to structural drawings. So that is the call out. And then remember, we have all other options to change the line. Remember, we have the reader line there. You can change its color, the opacity. We can change the end. So the end, so this end here, we can change it by probably clicking and choosing the various options we have. So you could have such kind of an end and other kinds of ends. And then there is the end. So how is the end chosen? It is auto. Okay, here is the, okay, let's just have auto there. Again, you can decide to have a fill within this particular text, and I can click there. So okay, sorry. Okay, I think the fill is within this particular marker there. Let me choose this kind of a marker and probably choose the fill. Now you can see that for this kind of an end, we have the fill over this particular text. But for example, if I choose another one, you can see, okay, it is also having the fill. So there are these fields that we have. Okay, I see there are two fields. So you can note where the fill is actually going to be. It is going to be to change. So you have this kind of two fields here. As well, you can change the opacity. For example, here I can change the opacity to probably 20. So that is the opacity. And this is the opacity of this boundary or the background for the text. Again, you can change the shape. You have the text box there. You can change the shape of the text box, as you can see. And remember, this is within the call out. You can also change the font, and you can decide to have the text box auto sized. So you can click on that, and then you can change the size of the text or the font, and then we have the styles. So that is the call out, and then we have the others, and we are going to look at them shortly.